Brothers and sisters, Salamun Alaikum. It is with great honor and humility that I stand before you today to speak about one of the most noble figures in Islamic history, Imam Hassan ibn Ali, the eldest grandson of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, the son of Imam Ali and Lady Fatima, the second Imam of Ahlul Bayt. Imam Hassan was not just a descendant of the Prophet, he was a living embodiment of the Prophet's teachings. His character, wisdom, patience, and generosity made him a guiding light for humanity. His life was filled with challenges, yet he remained steadfast in his commitment to truth and justice. Today, I would like to highlight some of his most remarkable attributes that continue to inspire us. 1. Imam Hassan's generosity, the embodiment of kindness. One of the most well-known qualities of Imam Hassan was his unmatched generosity. He was known as Kareem Ahlul Bayt, the most generous of the Prophet's family. There are numerous accounts of his kindness and willingness to help others. It is reported that Imam Hassan gave away his entire wealth 3 times in his lifetime. He would divide his wealth into 2 parts, one for himself and his family, and the other for the poor and needy. His generosity was not only financial, he also gave his time, attention, and love to those who sought his help. Once a man approached Imam Hassan asking for assistance. The Imam, without hesitation, gave him a large sum of money. When asked why he gave so much, he replied, "The best of charity is that which keeps the receiver free from asking again." This teaches us that true generosity is not just about giving, but uplifting others with dignity and respect. 2. Imam Hassan's patience, a symbol of endurance. Imam Hassan lived during a time of immense political instability. He faced betrayal from within his own ranks and hostility from external enemies. Despite this, he remained patient and never lost sight of the greater goal, preserving Islam. One of the greatest examples of his patience was his peace treaty with Muawiyah. Many misunderstood decision, seeing it as a sign of weakness. However, in reality, it was a masterstroke of wisdom. Imam Hassan understood that the Muslim Ummah was on the verge of destruction due to internal conflicts, and he prioritized unity over power. 3. Imam Hassan's wisdom, a guide for the Ummah. The intellect and wisdom of Imam Hassan were widely acknowledged even by his enemy. His words were filled with deep insight and guidance. He once said, "He who worships Allah truly, Allah will make everything subservient to him." He also advised the best of manners is to associate with people in a good way. Imam Hassan was always mindful of how he treated others. His wisdom teaches us the importance of a good conduct and strong moral character in our daily lives. 4. Imam Hassan's humility, a true servant of Allah. One day he saw some poor people sitting on the ground sharing a piece of bread. They invited him to join them, and without hesitation he sat with them and ate. After finishing, he invited them to his home and provided them with better food. His humility teaches us that true greatness is not about wealth or power. It is about how we treat others with love and respect. May Allah grant us the ability to learn from Imam Hassan and apply his teachings in our hearts and actions. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You're not fasting anymore, are you? Please enjoy the sweet of salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. It wasn't too sweet? You can second it by all means. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. MashaAllah, brother Hassan, inshallah he'll be, by the grace of God, very good orator in the future. I like the way that he presented it, his body language, and I can tell you that as a teacher, MashaAllah, I can see a very good future in him. Please, for the best success of Hassan and all our youngsters, once again, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم لا سيما بقية الله روحي وأرواح العالمين لمقدمه الفداء. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah alladhi hadana lihada wa ma kunna linahtadiya lawla an hadana Allah. Before we embark on the topic for tonight, let me check your memory, scratch your heads and answer my question. Very simple question. One of the main points that last night God made us say 3 salawat before that to make sure it registers was to remember that every day we are becoming either, inshallah, one of the materials and the blessings of paradise to live therein forever, or God forbid we become one of the fuel or part of the fuel of the hellfire. The way that we live our life, the way that we believe and act accordingly. I quoted 2 ayah at least, one for becoming hellbound, another one for becoming the materials of paradise. And I analyzed it, the difference between 2 words that they sound very similar to each other. I need someone with a sharp memory to at least mention 1 ayah. Maybe one of the brothers can quote one of the sisters another one. Let me see. No, mention the ayah. So Surah Al-Hujurat has over 30 ayah. Which one? Don't be too smart. There were 2 words, I give you a clue. 2 words that they sound very similar to each other, but I said that one of them is pronounced with Sad, which is the correct one, another one with Sin, which is not what Quran talks about. Masir. And what was the meaning of Masir? Your final product, becoming's end. Yes. Now anyone remembers, put this in an ayah of the Quran. Several times mentioned in the Quran. Give me one example in the Quran. Wa bi'sal masir. MashaAllah, very good. Brother Zahid, yourself, you'll get the gift, inshallah. The reason that I'm asking, please, if you may suggest, consider our evening sessions a course, and inshallah, by the grace of God, with the help of the chairman and the community, before maybe on the eve of Eid, we'll arrange an exam, and the first 3 top winners will receive the gift. Is it okay? Inshallah, they receive a gift. The minimum gift, I have them with me, but inshallah, the community will give you more generously so that there is an incentive for it. If you wish to take notes or anything, by all means, and if you wish to, and inshallah, you take the challenge, and attend the exam right at the end of, inshallah, Sunday evening, all being well, the last Sunday evening of the month of Ramadan, we'll have the exam, so that the next day, on the Eid day, we can give the prizes to the winners. Yes, wa ilallahil masir is general. Bi'sal masir is talking about becoming part of the hellfire. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم هو الذي نزل عليك الكتاب منه آيات محكمات هن ام الكتاب و اخر متشابهات فاما الذين في قلوبهم زيغ فيتبعون ما تشابه منه ابتغاء الفتنه و ابتغاء تأویله و ما یعلم تأویله الا الله والراسخون فی العلم یقولون آمنا به کل من عند ربنا و ما یذکر الا اولو الالباب. سوره آل عمران chapter 3 ayah number 7 for those who wanted to have the reference. Inshallah, the topic for tonight is a topic that I'll share with you. Instead of giving you a fish, this year I'm planning to give you a fishing rod so that you can go fishing yourself, metaphorically. So instead of answering the questions, I want to give you a clue so that those who try to be fallacious in their argument and come up with a fallacious argument, you can catch them and tell them that, hey, hang on a second, you are playing with the Quran. You are doing tafsir bil-rai, this is incorrect. The topic for tonight is very important. Inshallah, within this limited time available to me, I hope I can deliver what I have in my mind to you. It's the most important key in understanding the Holy Quran. Based on this ayah that I just recited, let me translate the ayah first. Again, the reference, Surah Al Imran, ayah number 7, the third surah. The Almighty God says, it is He who, yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that has revealed to you, sent down to you the book with capital B, i.e. the Holy Quran. God has sent the Quran to you. فیه آیات محکمات. In it, yani in the Quran, there are ayat that their meanings are entirely clear. بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم قل هو الله احد, Surah Ikhlas, very clear. No dispute about the meaning of it. منه آیات محکمات هن ام الکتاب. These الکتاب, the mother of the book, it means the main reference. محکمات, the well-established ayat of the Quran, are the main reference of the Quran. و اخر متشابهات. There are also some other ayat that their meanings are not that clear. At least for some people, for uneducated people, the meanings are not clear. At one stage, maybe one ayah is unclear for me. With a bit of studies, it becomes clear. But normally, our scholars have said there are around 200 ayat, over 6,000 plus ayat of the Quran. About 200 of the ayat of the Quran, they don't have clear meaning. Scholars have different even understanding of the meanings of this ayat, or could be interpreted differently. These are referred to in the Quran, by the Quran itself, as mutashabihat, those that they don't have clear meanings. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ. Zayg, ze, ya, and ghain. Remember the term. It means those who are deviated from the right path, those who are deviated from the truth, those who are mischief makers. They have some negative thoughts in their mind. فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ. They go to those ambiguous ayat. Because of the sick mentality that they have, they go to the ambiguous ayat. What for? فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ ابْتِغَاءَ الْفِتْنَةِ. ابْتِغَاءَ الْفِتْنَةِ means that they are seeking confusion. They are seeking mischief. Mischief, fitna here, it means causing confusion to the community, causing confusion to the simple members of the community, as unfortunately often is happening. And the youth come, they say that, Sheikh, I'm confused about this ayah, about this point, is this Islamic, principle, whatever. This is what they want to do. ابتغاء الفتنة وابتغاء تأويله. They are seeking to give their false interpretation. Ta'wil means interpretation, whether false or true. When somebody interprets the dream, in Arabic say ta'wil al-ruya, interpretation of the dream, whether it's a true interpretation or it's a false interpretation. Yes? Quran says ibtigha ta'wil. They come up with their own false interpretation of the Quran. Then Quran says, وَمَا يَعْلَمُ تَأْوِيلَهُ. Nobody knows. Here you need to say that ta'wil here, it means the true interpretation of the Quran. Nobody knows the true interpretation of the Quran إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ. The way that I'm reciting the ayah is according to the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ. Only Allah knows the true meaning and the true interpretation of the ambiguous ayat, plus وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ, those who are firmly grounded in knowledge, i.e. to whom Quran is revealed, i.e. the Holy Prophet and his infallible successors, Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. وَمَا يَعْلَمُ صَلُّوا عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَعَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ. So وَمَا يَعْلَمُ تَأْوِيلَهُ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ يَقُولُونَ آمَنَّا بِهِ. Those grounded in knowledge, they say we believe in the entire Quran. We don't interpret one against another one. آمَنَّا بِهِ كُلٌّ مِّنْ عِنْدِنَا. All the Quran, the entire Quran is from the Quran. We don't pick and choose. Some people will talk about it in the coming nights. What I'm talking tonight as a major key, will elaborate it, and we come up so many examples throughout the coming nights, inshallah. That some they practically pick part of the Quran and ignore the other part of the Quran. No, those who firmly grounded with knowledge, they said, I believe in the entire Quran. I don't pick and choose. وَمَا يَذَّكَّرُ إِلَّا أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. Quran says that none would take heed of what I'm telling you other than those who have a pure understanding. Okay? This is the literal translation of the ayah. According to this clear ayah of the Quran itself, then this ayah is one of the clear ayat, because clearly divides the Quran into two parts. Some, which is most of the Quran, they have clear meanings, and there are some ayat that they don't have clear meaning. At least for us ordinary people without any education, it may not have a clear meaning. That Quran refers to them as those that are not entirely clear. Now, so what is the solution? How am I supposed to understand? Imam Ali ibn Musa Rida alayhi salam says that, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The clue to understand the meaning of the unclear ayat is to refer them to the established ayat. من رد متشابه القرآن إلى محكمه فقد هدي إلى صراط مستقيم. Those who refer the unclear ayat to the clear ayat, they are guided to the right path. Otherwise, you will end up with your own personal understanding of the Quran. Let me give you a couple of examples so that the topic becomes more clear, inshallah. You are reciting Surah Al-Fajr, inshallah. Most of you, inshallah, all of you, you know the Surah Al-Fajr off by heart. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, if you add it to your spiritual daily diet in the morning, either in the nafila of the Fajr prayer or the fariz, the wajib prayer of the Fajr prayer, if you recite Surah Al-Fajr in dunya, inshallah in the hereafter you will be associated with Imam Hussein alayhi salam, because Surah Al-Fajr is known as Surah Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Now, I'm reciting Surah Al-Fajr and I come across this ayah. وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ صَفًّا صَفًّا. We know the ayah, yes? Literal translation. And your Lord and the angels will come in ranks. And then I pause, ponder upon it. جَاءَ رَبُّكَ, your Lord, your nurturer, God comes, and his angels, they come in ranks. My imagination goes visualizing like as if God is leading a host, a group of the angels. God is in the high rank in front, and his angels are escorting him. Is this possible? This is an example of ambiguous ayah. Why is it ambiguous? Because it doesn't make sense. Coming, going, this is not the attribute of God. I've come here to the Husayniyah, I'm not in the masjid. You've come to the Husayniyah, you are not in the masjid. So when you go somewhere, you are there and you are absent from other places. وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ, if I want to take it literally, it means that on the judgment day, God comes along with his angels and God is there, meaning that he's absent, he's not somewhere else. Again, we come to the house of Imam Ali ibn Musa Rida. Imam Rida alayhi salam says that this is an example of ayah mutashabih that Quran was talking about. Refer to the ayat of muhkamat like Surah Ikhlas, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Because according to teachings of Surah Ikhlas and similar ayat, God is not physical. God is the creator of physics and matter and spirit and everything. God is not physical, nor is he spiritual. When we say God is not physical, some people, they think God is a spirit. No, God is the creator of the spirit as well. No difference between matter and mind and soul. Anyway, so we ask, Ya Ali ibn Musa Rida, what's the meaning of waja'a rabbuka? Imam says, yani waja'a amru rabbik. The matter, yani the command of your Lord on that day comes with the angels who are going to execute the command of God, who will be hellbound, who goes to paradise. Do you see this an example of it? And who interpreted this for us? Rakhuna fil ilm, i.e. Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Another example that tomorrow night we'll talk about it, but touch on it for tonight. You are reading the Quran, you come to Surah Taha, chapter 20 of the Quran, ayah 121, in the story of Prophet Adam alayhi salam. وَعَصَى آدَمُ رَبَّهُ فَغَوَى. Asa, ma'asiyat. You are familiar with the term ma'asiyat, huh? Ma'asiyat means to disobey a command. وَعَصَى آدَمُ رَبَّهُ فَغَوَى. The literal translation. Adam disobeyed his Lord and he went astray. Asa. Do you remember the term asa? Ma'asiyat is coming from the same. How can a prophet disobey his Lord and go astray? What kind of a prophet is he? A blind cannot lead the blind. Now the question comes to my mind is that, is the meaning of ma'asiyat here the same as what we have in other ayat of the Quran? Like for example in Surah Al-Muzzammil, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with reference to Fir'aun, someone who claimed that he is the exalted God. فَعَصَى فِرْعَوْنَ الرَّسُولِ فَأَخَذْنَاهُ أَخْذًا وَبِيلًا فَعَصَى فِرْعَوْنُ الرَّسُولَ فَأَخَذْنَاهُ أَخْذًا وَبِيلًا. God says again the same asa. You see that with reference to Prophet Adam we had asa, ma'asiyat. Here also we have asa, ma'asiyat. Pharaoh also disobeyed his Lord, disobeyed the messenger of God. Because disobeying the messenger of God is disobeying God. Pharaoh disobeyed Moses alayhi salam. God says that therefore we seized him with severe chastisement. So can I conclude, putting these two ayahs together, to conclude that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chastised and punished Prophet Adam and Noah, sent them down to earth, and that's why we are suffering? If you ask the Christians, they say yes, because that's what the Old Testament says. The pang of delivery that ladies are going throughout the centuries is their punishment that their grandmother Eve had done, that they deceived her husband and all the rest of it. Quran says, no, this is a myth. There's no truth in it. This is an example of ambiguous. Do you see that these are ambiguous ayat? Those who don't have the skills of interpretation of the Quran or refuse to go to the house of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, ar-rasikhuna fil ilm, remember the key. Those who are firmly grounded with knowledge, they end up with their own personal interpretation, their own women desire, and therefore they say that Sheikh, God here, he says that وَعَصَى آدَمُ رَبَّهُ فَغَوَى. Adam disobeyed God, Pharaoh also disobeyed God. Baba, no, big difference. When Imam Ali alayhi salam says, Allahumma aghfir li al-dhunub allati tahta kull isam, Imam Ali means something, and when I say it, I mean something else. You need to understand, them seen in the level of Imam Ali is different from my level and somebody, each to their own. Hasanatul abrar, sayyatul muqarrabin. Something that for ordinary people is acceptable. I was somewhere and they invited me to a restaurant. They said, Sheikh, it's a halal restaurant. I said, look, this is BYO as well. And because of the BYO, they said this is definitely halal restaurant. I said, I know, but it's not becoming of a sheikh to sit in a restaurant where BYO, he said, you know what I mean by BYO, bring your own. Yani, you can bring your, we don't serve alcohol, but you can bring your own. Ajallakumullah. Maybe an ordinary Muslim, if they go there and they are not sitting around the table where alcohol is served, they are safe. Jurisprudentially, our fuqaha, they say that's okay. But for a sheikh, it's not becoming. Do you see? I'm showing the different expectations. When it comes to the level of anbiya, things they consider for themselves sin that for us is not a sin at all. Imam Baqir alayhi salam says that those who deliberately abandon namaz wajib, they have stepped out of religion. But those who deliberately abandon nafile, this is ma'asiyah. This is remember the term ma'asiyah. This again ma'asiyah. Yani they have, yani what the Imam Baqir does, what does he mean? Yani today that you didn't do nafile namaz zuhr, you committed a sin? For you and I is not a sin. For awliyaullah, they regard it a sin. So please understand the terminologies for everyone has its own meaning. This is the meaning of ambiguous ayat and the clear ayat. I'm just giving you an example. Now, people who don't have these techniques available to them, or they refuse to go to the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, they end up interpreting the Quran according to their whim and desire. There is a hadith that all Muslims, Shia and Sunni, have narrated. Inshallah, if you help me with salawat, I'll share it with you. This hadith is quote, the Holy Prophet is narrated to have said, according to both principles of the Shia and Sunni standards of hadith, Man fassara al-Qur'ana bira'yeh فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ مَقْعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ. Whoever interprets the Quran according to his own thinking, his own whim and desire, let him prepare his or her seats in hell. Yani that person will be hellbound because you are manipulating the words of God. This is, you are misleading people and presenting it in the name of religion. That's more dangerous that someone comes up with his own philosophy or something. Unfortunately, wearing the turban and come up with my interpretation of the Quran, which is contrary to the rest of the Quran, there is a big punishment for it. So this is the hadith that if anyone interprets the Quran according to their own whim, understand, sometimes with all respect, it's a very good thing that some community members, they get together, they say we want to do tadabbur of the Quran. But be careful, tadabbur of the Quran doesn't mean you come up with your own interpretation of the ayat. You need to know the techniques of reflecting on the Quran. One of the techniques, again, Shia and Sunni on principle agree on this. One of the most important techniques is this, Al-Qur'anu yufassiru ba'duhu ba'da. Part of the Quran interprets another part of the Quran, i.e., the muhkamat, the clear ayat of the Quran, interpret the mutashabahat, the unclear ayat of the Quran. Now, I share with you some points to remember when you want to interpret the ayat of the Quran. Point number one, brothers and sisters, don't let anyone pick up an ayah and rub it with all respect to your face and say, see, this is what Quran says, this is what Islam says. You tell them, is this the only thing that Quran says? Don't play with my mind. Like, for example, Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 62. We'll elaborate on it in due course. But just to touch on it, to give you an example. Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 62. The meaning of the ayah is this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala apparently suggests that whoever believes in Allah and the last day and does good, there is no fear on them and nothing to worry about. They say that, look, the essence of the religion is belief in God and belief in the last day, in the day of judgment. Belief in the prophets is not necessary. As long as you believe in Allah and the last day, you receive salvation in the hereafter. The proof, Surah Al-Baqarah is 62. And when you go to it, you say, yeah, he's right. No, wrong. You know why? Because Al-Quran yufassiru ba'duhu ba'da. If you want to understand the Quran, you have to look at the Quran collectively. Baba, we have so many other ayat of the Quran. To best understand the Quran, if you want to study any topic you pick from the Quran, please keep this in mind. Any topic you want to pick from the Quran to delve into it, I call it the family of the ayat. The family of the, like for example, on this topic of who will be receiving the salvation, you need to list all the ayat related to the topic and read them together. Pieces of puzzle, you put them together and the puzzle is solved. You cannot just pick one ayah of the Quran. If anyone comes with one ayah of the Quran, and even that they come up with their own mistranslations or misinterpretations, remember that they are playing with your intelligence. Don't accept that. Say, brother, sister, is this the only ayah we have in the Quran? You have to cross-examine it against other ayat of the Quran. For example, because I mentioned this misgiving, let me answer it here to finish it as well. They claim that Quran says that man amana billahi wal yawm al-akhir wa amila salihan. Yes, we said, okay, what's the meaning of amana billah? In Surah Nur and Surah Al-Hujurat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has defined the meaning of belief in Allah. Quran says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. إِنَّمَا in Arabic means only and none. Therefore, when we translate it, we say the believers are only those who believe in Allah and His Messenger. How can you possibly believe in Allah if you don't believe in His Messenger? Who introduced you to Allah other than His Messenger? Who introduced you to this Quran other than the Messenger? It is through the holy lips of the Prophet we came to know about this Quran. How can I say that belief in the Prophet is not essential? You believe in the Quran. It's just like saying that, forgive me for this example, don't care about Sheikh Mansour, just see what he says. Baba, what he says is coming from his mouth. If Sheikh Mansour, for example, is a liar, then how can you trust his words? So, do you see? A little bit of intelligence, you don't need to be Einstein to answer them, but still, check it with other ayat of the Quran. Remember this principle always. Al-Quran yufassiru ba'dahu ba'da. Part of the Quran interprets other parts of the Quran. So, yes, Quran says, man amana billah. But I ask him, brother, what's the meaning of iman billah? Anyone who claims I believe in God, they believe in God? Well, I think Hindus also, they believe in God. I think Christians, they believe in God. Is that enough? Even the Quran is quoting the idolaters. They say that we believe in God. لَنْ سَأَلْتَهُمْ مَنْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. If you ask them who created the heavens and the earth, لَيَقُولُنَّ اللَّهُ. They also say Allah. But was not accepted from them. So it's not just anyone comes with any type of belief in Allah will be accepted. We have a definition for belief in Allah. I'm just giving you some examples. So one of the ways is to cross-examine it against other ayat of the Quran. Okay, if it's consistent, cross-examine it against principles of the Quran, well-established principles of Islam. If it's contrary to that, sorry mate, we cannot accept this. The reason that we don't translate وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ صَفًّا صَفًّا because it's contrary to the well-established principles. يَدُ اللَّهِ فَوْقَ أَيْدِيهِمْ. The literal translation, the hand of God is above their hands. You put your hand, I put my hand, I put my hand. Someone, Hajj Ibrahim, taller than me, puts his hand above. Who is the tallest among us? His hand goes right on the top. This is literal. Is that the meaning of the ayah? Yadullahi fawqa aydihim? No one will accept that. Don't play with my... So this is not what the Quran means. This is an example of ambiguous ayah. Yad in Arabic is a metaphor for the power. God wants to say, you think that the West has the power, you think that US is the superpower, Yadullahi fawqa aydihim. The might of God is above all mights, so-called mights. This is the meaning of it. And we have these metaphors every day. We use it in our day-to-day English conversation as well. When you say that, I'll come if the pig, or when the pig flies. When the pigs fly, do the pigs fly ever? You don't take it literally. You understand? It's a metaphor, it's an expression. Quran, the Almighty God is communicating with us using our own jargons understandable for us. Don't translate it literally. Yes? These are examples. Another criterion is that to go to Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, because Quran says rasikhuna fil ilm, those who are firmly grounded with knowledge. Some people, they say why the name of Imam Ali alayhi salam is not mentioned in the Quran. We'll discuss it inshallah in a couple of nights coming. I have a question. If it was mentioned in the Quran, do you think the problem would be solved? No. I'll prove it to you. For the whole life, the Prophet of Islam, from the beginning that he's at least started his prophetic mission to the end of his life, every day he's praying. Yes? 5 times a day he's praying. And before praying, he's making his wudu. And there is an ayah in Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah number 5, I think, in describing how to make your wudu. Are Muslims or unanimous about making the wudu? It's mentioned in the Quran. Don't you say why it's not mentioned? Baba, wudu, how to make the wudu is mentioned in the Quran. How come that Sunnis and Shia, they make different type of wudu? And it's mentioned in the Quran. And I tell you, I'm quoting this, if anyone wants, I remember even from top of my head, to give you the references. The most eminent Sunni Mufassirin, when they come to ayah wudu, they said, had it not been our riwayat, and it was only this ayah of the wudu, we should have also wiped the head and the feet, not washed the feet. Why are we washing it? Because of the riwayat. The ayah of the Quran doesn't say that. The ayah says wipe it. So just because it's not mentioned in the Quran doesn't solve the problem, as it has not solved the problem of the wudu, which is not controversial. I promise you, even if there was an ayah with the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib in the Quran, they would interpret it as they interpreted, misinterpreted, as they misinterpreted ayah wudu, based on their own false riwayat. We say, Baba, your riwayat is false. How could possibly the Holy Prophet say anything against the Quran that he has brought for us? So these riwayat are fabricated. Okay? Now, somebody comes to Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam and says, what's the time? Allahu Akbar. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Somebody comes to Imam Baqir alayhi salam. I say quickly because my time is just hitting the 30 minutes. You listen please quickly. Can you? Says, Yabna Rasulallah, why is it that we wipe وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى this is Allah. That's what I say. We only need راسخون في العلم to understand this. Quran doesn't say وامسحوا رؤوسكم, wipe your heads. Quran says وامسحوا برؤوسكم. Does this be have any role to play? Ahlul Sunnah, they say it's za'idah. Allahu Akbar. Just because you don't understand, you say it's extra. Yani God just added extra letter for what? Astaghfirullah. Well, there is no such thing as extra. Wamsahu beru. Ba here, it means to, one of the meanings of ba in Arabic, it means part of something. Like in Surah Al-Insan, we have Aynan yashrabu biha ibadullah. This ba of biha in ibadullah, biha, it means that people of paradise, those muqarrabeen, they drink from the well, part of the well of the paradise. They don't just drink the whole water, part of it, yes? Quran says, yashrabu biha ibadullah. Yani they have a sip of that water. Likewise here, Quran says, wamsahu biru'usikum. Yani wipe part of your head in front of you, part of it. Naturally, you wipe part of it, not the whole head. And the guy was dumbfounded. He said, wow. That is an infallible interpretation. I never thought of this ba. I just disregard. No, they don't disregard it. That's why Quran says, وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ. You need رَاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ to interpret it for you. So in a nutshell, the message that I had quickly tonight to deliver to you, please remember that you cannot understand an ayah of the Quran by isolating it from the rest of the Quran. And you cannot understand an ayah of the Quran unless you cross-examine it with the rest of the Quran, the rest of well-established principles in Islam, and also with the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. The reason that this topic is very essential and timely for us is the hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, that the Imam says that at the time of the Holy Prophet, Allah's messenger was fighting the infidels to believe in the Quran. At the time of Imam Zaman al-Jalallah Farajur Sharif, that we are expecting his coming, inshallah, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Do you know when Imam Zaman comes, I really get a goosebump when I come across this hadith. Imam Sadiq has foretold, and he says that at the time of Imam Zaman, there are scholars maybe wearing the turban. Ya Allah, inshallah, we are not among them. There are scholars, because of their misinterpretation of the Quran, يَتَأَوَّلُونَ عَلَيْهِ الْكِتَابَ وَيُقَاتِلُونَهُ عَلَيْهِ. They refer to the Quran, misinterpret the Quran to fight Imam Zaman. The scholars will be fighting Imam Zaman, some scholars. Those who are the deviants, those are, as Quran, I read the ayat, those there is a deviation in their heart, deviation from the truth, they will be fighting even Imam Zaman, because they are so rigidly, they believe in their false belief. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us against such misinterpretation of the Quran. Please be conscious of your hawa'ij tonight. I want to start last night because of the night of Imam Hassan Mujtaba alayhi salam. We pleaded to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in honor of Imam Hassan, but tonight we start from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that we are all indebted to him. The most honorable creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ever existed and stepped on earth. Be conscious of your hawaiij. Please especially remember the patience, quick reappearance of Sahib al-Zaman. When you pray, don't pray only for your physical needs, for your spiritual needs and the needs of your offspring. Be inclusive, consider all, and inshallah with me we recite this part of Dua Tawassul. Ya Abul Qasim, Ya Rasul Allah, Ya Imam al-Rahma, Ya Sayyidana wa Maulana, إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد و آل محمد.